couldn't ever imagine this.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
In Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure
Copy.
messages, and we did not copy
Is it
your last.
instrumentation, Max?
Flight Max, those
Copy.
are also off.
Number 1. Apollo 12. Shoe leather. On November 19th, 1969, Apollo 12 landed in the Ocean of Storms, with Pete Conrad and Alan Bean touching down within 200 meters of their target. 2 days later, during their second moonwalk, Bean climbed onto the ladder, looked around, and pointed toward a small dark patch near Surveyor 3, the robot probe that had landed in 1967. Bean radioed back to Earth. It looks like a piece of wet leather or shoe leather. He was noting an object half buried in lunar dust. Bean and Conrad approached and found a flattened, shiny fragment that neither matched their maps nor any expected hardware. They snapped photos, but did not pick it up, leaving it in place to avoid contamination. Back on Earth, scientists examined the images. Some thought it was part of Surveyor 3's camera housing, dislodged by meteorite impact or micrometeoroid strike. Others suggested it might be melted droplet from a bolt of lightning in the probe's power system. No evidence hinted at anything alien. Bean later admitted he still did not know exactly what it was. As a nod to the odd find, he sketched the fragment in his post-flight reports. The mystery drove home how little we truly understand about the lunar surface. Bean went on to become a painter, capturing the moon's shapes and colors with vivid strokes. Number 2. Challenger. Uh-oh. On January 28, 1986, Challenger rolled out to Kennedy Space Center's Launch Complex 39B under clear skies and cold temperatures. 7 astronauts took their seats: Commander Francis Dick Scobie, pilot Michael J. Smith, mission specialists Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Judith Resnick, and payload specialists Krista McAuliffe and S. Krista McAuliffe. McAuliffe, a schoolteacher, was the first civilian selected to fly, and millions of schoolchildren watched the launch live. At 11:38 a.m., the twin solid rocket boosters ignited. As Challenger climbed, observers noted plumes of gray smoke issuing from one joint of the right booster. Engineers had warned that cold weather could compromise the O-ring seals, which were made of rubber to flex under pressure. That morning's temperatures were near 36 degrees Fahrenheit, below the seal's tested limits. 58 seconds into flight, Scobie called "throttle up," and at that exact moment, hot gases from the booster joint breached the external tank. Pilot Mike Smith's calm "uh-oh" came over the audio feed. Within seconds, the structural integrity of the tank failed. The shuttle broke apart at about 46,000 feet and 1,200 miles per hour. The crew cabin separated briefly, but plummeted to the ocean surface, killing all 7 on board. Debris rained onto the Atlantic Ocean. Recovery ships and aircraft searched for wreckage and any signs of life. Investigators convened a presidential commission to find the cause. They concluded that the cold weather O-ring loss of seal allowed a plume of flame to erode the joint, leading to catastrophic tank failure. The tragedy forced NASA to halt shuttle flights for nearly 3 years. Engineers redesigned the booster joints, added heaters to maintain seal flexibility, and improved inspection procedures before every launch. Challenger's loss altered NASA's culture, emphasizing safety over schedule. The memory of McAuliffe, McNair, and the others endures in classrooms named for the teacher, and in every mission that carries students' questions to orbit. Number 3. Apollo 13. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Apollo 13 launched from Cape Canaveral on April 11, 1970, carrying Commander Jim Lovell, Command Module Pilot Jack Swigert, and Lunar Module Pilot Fred Hayes. Their goal was to land in the Fra Mauro region of the Moon. 2 days into flight, NASA sent updated parameters for tank stir and pressure readings in one of the service module's oxygen tanks. At 55 hours, 54 minutes into the mission, Swigert flipped the switch to stir oxygen tank 2. Inside the tank, damaged by an earlier drop and repaired improperly, wiring insulation had frayed. A spark set off a violent explosion. The crew reported a bang, followed by alarms and flickering lights in the command module. Mission Control pressurized Sweigert's microphone remote. "Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here." Lovell, in calm but tense tones, clarified. "Houston, we've had a problem. We've had a main B bus undervolt." The explosion had shut down 2 of 3 fuel cells, and oxygen pressure plunged. With power low and carbon dioxide rising, NASA engineers hurriedly worked options on the ground. They decided to use the lunar module Aquarius as a lifeboat. Lovell and Hayes shut down the command module to conserve its resources, then powered up the lander. Aquarius' environmental controls and batteries would keep them alive, though it was designed only for 2 men for 2 days, not 3 for 4. As the spacecraft looped around the far side of the moon, the crew endured water rationing, freezing temperatures, and strokes of ingenuity. Flight controllers devised a way to fit command module cartridges into the lander's square lithium hydroxide canisters to scrub carbon dioxide. After 2 more lunar orbits, Apollo 13 performed a critical engine burn using the descent engine of Aquarius, placing them on a return trajectory. On April 17, 1970, the crew splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean. They emerged cold and hungry, but alive. Apollo 13 became the mission NASA deemed a successful failure. Every procedure, system, and training drill was reviewed to prevent similar crises. The famed phrase, "Houston, we've had a problem," entered the lexicon as proof that calm communication can save lives when things go wrong. Number 4. Columbia. Roger.
And Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure
Copy.
messages, and we did not copy
Is it
your last.
instrumentation, Max?
Flight Max, those
Copy.
are also off
On February 1st, 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia began its descent toward Kennedy Space Center after 16 days in orbit. Commander Rick Husband, pilot William McCool, and mission specialists David Brown, Kalpana Chawla, Laurel Clark, Michael Anderson, and Ilan Ramon prepared for landing. The mission had gone smoothly, with experiments completed and the shuttle's robotic arm deployed. Unseen by the crew, during launch, a piece of foam insulation from the external tank had broken loose and struck Columbia's left wing, damaging heat shield tiles. Engineers on the ground debated the risk, but could not gain clear imagery. As the shuttle re-entered the atmosphere at Mach 25, superheated air penetrated the wing's breach. At 8:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, telemetry showed rising temperatures in the wheel well sensors. Controllers asked, "Columbia, do you copy?" at 8:59:32, but received no reply. Up to that point, Husband had acknowledged commands with "Roger." Seconds later, increasing heat caused wing structure to fail, breaking the orbiter apart over Texas and Louisiana. All 7 astronauts were lost when the cabin disintegrated in high G forces. Recovery teams covered thousands of square miles of debris, collecting every piece that could be found. The Columbia Accident Investigation Board determined that foam strikes were a known hazard. The report recommended changes to shuttle inspection methods and flight rules, including in-flight repair techniques. Columbia's loss grounded the shuttle fleet until 2005 and helped shape the design and safety approach for future crewed vehicles. Columbia's crew members are remembered each February by groups that carry shuttle debris on walks, holding pieces of tile or insulation as a tribute. Their last word, the simple "Roger," is a reminder that astronauts rely on small acknowledgments to confirm life-or-death command sequences. Number 5. Shenzhou V, the knocking sound. On October 15, 2003, Yang Liwei lifted off aboard Shenzhou V, becoming China's first taikonaut in space. After reaching orbit, he carried out 3 days of experiments, took photographs of Earth, and tested life support systems. The Shenzhou capsule was based on the Soyuz design, but included Chinese systems. During a routine check of onboard equipment, Yang reported hearing a repeated knocking sound. He described it as if someone was tapping the hull with a wooden mallet on steel. The noise came at irregular intervals, lasting for up to 10 seconds at a time. Ground control asked Yang to tap back and locate the source, but he found no obvious cause. He floated in the small cabin, glancing at structural panels and listening as the sound seemed to move around him. Mechanical explanations include thermal expansion. As metal heats and cools in sunlight and shadow, joints can flex and make noise. The mystery persists as a small puzzle in human spaceflight history, a note that even in routine missions, surprises await. Number 6. Apollo 1. Fire.
Can you read it? Can you get him out of there?
On January 27, 1967, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee climbed into their Apollo 1 command module on Pad 34 at Cape Canaveral. They were running through a plugs-out countdown rehearsal meant to simulate the real launch, complete with full spacesuits and pure oxygen at 16 pounds per square inch inside the cabin. Grissom, White, and Chaffee represented NASA's best. White had performed America's first spacewalk on Gemini 4. Grissom had flown Mercury Redstone 4 and Gemini 3, and Chaffee was slated for his first flight. Spirits were high as they ran through checklists and awaited the go for simulated liftoff. At 6:31 p.m., the test started. With power on and communications open, the crew called out readings as they would on launch day. Then, Grissom remarked quietly on a faint, burning odor. Controllers on the ground paused the count to see if the crew could identify a source. In a pure oxygen environment, even a small spark can ignite cloth and wiring. After a brief hold, the test resumed. 30 seconds later, White's calm voice broke into panic. Fire! Flames raced through the cabin so fast that thick smoke filled the module. The all-metal hatch opened inward and was bolted shut by 850 pounds of internal pressure. Rescue teams with oxygen masks and cutting tools tried to reach the crew, but the heat was already above 538 degrees Fahrenheit. In less than 25 seconds from flame ignition, the interior was engulfed. Ground controllers heard only muffled cries, then silence. The pure oxygen atmosphere had turned every piece of nylon, Velcro, and wire insulation into fuel. By the time the fire was out, all 3 astronauts had died from smoke inhalation and burns. When recovery teams finally winched off the hatch, they found the cabin destroyed and the 3 men still strapped in. Their loss shook NASA to its core. An investigation traced the fire to damaged wiring and flammable materials inside a high-pressure oxygen system. Number 7. Soyuz 1. Thank you, tell everyone it happened. In April 1967, Vladimir Komarov strapped into the Soviet Soyuz 1 spacecraft. He was a decorated pilot chosen for the first crewed flight of the new Soyuz design, intended to prove docking and orbital rendezvous. From the moment of launch, Soyuz 1 suffered failures. 2 solar panels failed to deploy, plunging the capsule into low power, and orientation thrusters misfired, making it hard to keep the heat shield pointed properly. Ground control for Soyuz 2 readied a rescue mission. Cosmonauts would fly to the crippled ship and transfer Komarov to their own capsule. But bad weather delayed and then scrubbed the backup launch of Soyuz 2. With systems draining and the craft tumbling, Mission Control ordered Komarov to return after 18 orbits. During re-entry, Komarov radioed that the retro rocket had fired and all was nominal. He said, "Everything is going fine." Then the main parachute failed to open properly. The reserve chute tangled with the drogue lines, leaving the descent module to slam into the ground at roughly 140 kilometers per hour. Telemetry indicated the impact was unsurvivable. Komarov's final transmission came as he struggled with the failing chute. "Thank you. Tell everyone it happened." His words were carried briefly on Soviet airwaves before silence fell. Rescue crews found the capsule engulfed in flames and twisted steel. Komarov's body was recovered inside, and the mission was declared a tragedy of rushed design and political pressure. The Soviet space program conducted an internal review, grounding Soyuz flights for over a year. Engineers reworked parachute systems, improved quality control, and revised safety protocols. Komarov was honored posthumously in Soviet monuments and in the naming of lunar craters, a reminder of the risks that cosmonauts and astronauts share when they leave Earth's surface. Number 8. Apollo 11. They're on the moon, watching us. In July 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed the Eagle on the Sea of Tranquility. Millions watched the first steps on another world. Trailblazing as it was, what went on behind the scenes during those 2 hours on the surface has stirred rumor and debate. One unverified tale claims that during a brief loss of signal, a 2-minute blackout as the lunar module passed behind the moon, Armstrong spoke of seeing other spacecraft on the rim of the crater. According to the story, ground control heard Armstrong say, "These babies were huge, sir. Enormous! You won't believe it. They're on the moon, watching us." When radio contact returned, Armstrong and Aldrin reported nothing out of the ordinary and stuck to the planned transcript. NASA's official audio recordings and transcripts include no such line. The story first surfaced decades later in a British book filled with declassified NASA files and hearsay. No engineer, technician, or flight controller ever attested to hearing that message. Conspiracy authors point to missing tapes and gaps in recording. But NASA archivists have reviewed the raw data and found no edits in that time frame. Why would someone invent such a claim? Number 9. Apollo 10. That sure is weird music. Apollo 10, often called the dress rehearsal for the first moon landing, launched on May 18, 1969, with Thomas Stafford, John Young, and Eugene Cernan aboard. They flew the lunar module Snoopy down to within 15 kilometers of the surface, testing every procedure short of touchdown. As they orbited the moon's far side, direct radio contact with Earth was cut off, and communication switched to a relay via the command module Charlie Brown. During the blackout, Stafford and Cernan in Snoopy reported hearing an odd whistling or musical noise on their headsets. Cernan described it as outer spacey music, a sound neither he nor Stafford could place. When contact resumed, they joked about it but remained curious. NASA's audio logs marked the incident as unidentified sound. Engineers later reviewed recordings, noting the noise appeared on both lunar module and command module channels. Their conclusion: crosstalk and static distortion from the unified S-band transponder created the whistling. Signals from Charlie Brown leaking into Snoopy's comms channel produced a feedback-like tone. Despite the explanation, Apollo 10's music has sparked speculation. UFO enthusiasts cite it as proof of alien broadcasts. Radio amateurs and acoustic experts have reconstructed the effect in labs, confirming it arises from standard telecommunication interference under certain signal strength ratios. Cernan himself downplayed exotic theories, saying he was more worried about flying a spacecraft so close to uncharted terrain than about strange sounds. Number 10. Soyuz 11, Silent Return. On June 6, 1971, Soyuz 11 launched from Baikonur with Georgy Dobrovolsky, Viktor Patsayev, and Vladislav Volkov aboard. They docked with Salyut 1, the first space station, on June 7th, and spent 22 days running experiments in astronomy, biology, and Earth observation. They broadcast live television back to Earth, even playing cards and saying hello to curious students watching at home. Life aboard Salyut 1 was cramped. The three men shared less than 20 cubic meters of space, rotating through shifts at the station's controls and handling repairs. On day 11, they fought a small fire in the airlock, extinguishing flames with carbon dioxide fire extinguishers. They adapted quickly, showing teamwork under stress. On June 29th, they prepared to return. The crew sealed the hatch and undocked at 1900 UTC. At separation, a pressure equalization valve in the descent module opened too soon. Nobody noticed the small opening over the hum of engine thrust. In under a minute, cabin pressure dropped from 1 atmosphere to near vacuum. Ground control heard nothing unusual beyond the normal flow of telemetry. When Soyuz 11 landed at 2155 UTC, rescue teams rushed in to open the hatch. They found the 3 cosmonauts slumped in their seats, harnesses locked, faces unmarked by struggle. Emergency responders confirmed they had been dead for some time, victims of rapid decompression. Investigators traced the malfunction to a single check valve. It had vibrated loose during separation. The Soviets then redesigned Soyuz to carry only 2 cosmonauts in pressure suits during re-entry, adding mandatory spacesuits for every flight. So thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content.